Hello friends, welcome again. So as you know, we are covering a SQL Superstar program, a 50 days initiative that we have taken. We have already finished 2 days and now we are going to start the day 3 and I am sure you all will be super excited for that. I hope you would have enjoyed the previous 2 days and we have covered things in a lot of detail. We have done our local setup, we have seen how to create a database, how to create tables, and there is a lot that we will be learning in this particular session. Now, at this point, I'm sure you all would have subscribed to my channel because that will be the motivating point for me. Because if I am teaching something and you guys like it, subscribe to my channel, click on the like button, mention in the comment about your learning experience, right? That's the motivation for a teacher, right? So make sure you do all of that. And from my side, I'll make sure to bring the top notch content. Now, as I said, SQL is the very first step which we will do in these 50 days. But after that, you should think of transitioning into data. SQL is one side which is important, but you have to take your career to the next level by learning more to this, right? It can be anything. And as you know, I have a data engineering program. I do not mean to say that you have to learn that from me, but I mean, you should definitely think that after SQL, what should be your next step? Data engineering is a very good career choice, and that's why I am covering things in a lot of detail because SQL plays a very important role, and I am going that extra mile in order to cover things just because I want you to be very good at SQL so that you can be good data engineers. And if you are hired as a data engineer, generally the salary ranges are between 3x to 6x of total years of experience. For example, a person with 5 years of experience might be earning a package between 15 lakh to 30 lakhs. A person with 10 years experience, total experience. I'm not talking about data engineering experience. A person with 10 years experience might be getting between 30 to 60 lakhs and so on in India. And this is, I am just talking about service based company. When you talk about product based companies, the salary packages will be a lot different. I have seen some of my students with just 5 or 6 years of experience working in top product based company earning more than a CR, of course, including stocks. So definitely you should think of a career transition if you are from any background, be it mainframe testing, support, data analyst, right, or ETL, anything. Data engineering is a very good career choice. And you can consider my ultimate data engineering program for that. I will mention the link for my website in comments. And I'm saying that you can learn that by yourself too. But again, if you need a structured way, you can consider going through any of the courses. The ultimate data engineering program that I offer is a very trusted program and has brought a lot of results. You can see the link to my website in the description and you can know the details about the ultimate program. So with this, let's start with our day 3 without any delay. And I'm sure you should be truly enjoying this SQL Superstar program. This can change your life. We now know that how to list all the databases. Do you know or not? I think you should be aware. What is the command? Show databases, right? So we know how to list all the databases. Next, what we know? We know how to create a database. Do you know? Do you know how to create a database? Create database, database name, right? And then, so first you saw that there were some existing databases. Like if I say show databases, we understand that there are some default databases. After that, we can create our own database, right? Create database, database name, right? We can give retail DB as the name and we can create it. Now, once we have created a database, so let me create database retail underscore DB, right? And I created this. Now if I say show databases, I will be able to see 5, and if I connect, I can say use retail underscore DB to connect to it, to connect to this database. So you know this very well. So how to connect to a database, you know this one. Now After this, we connected, and now since we are inside a database, we know how to create a table. How to create a table. So when we create a table, we give some column names and data types. Then we also know how to insert records to this table. Whatever we create, let's say customers table, employee table, or product table, we know how to insert record using the insert statement, right? Then we also know how to view the records in a table, how to view the records in a table. What is the way? Using select statement, select star from employee, which shows all the records. Okay. Now, apart from that, what else we have covered? We know how to list all the tables in a database. How do we do that? Show tables, right? So once we are connected to a database, we can list down all the tables inside the database. We know that. Now, we also know how to drop a table. How to drop a table? Drop table, table name. We also know how to drop a database. How to drop a database. What's the command? Drop database, database name. Okay. Now, how to know to which database you are connected to? How to know to which DB you are connected to? We have covered this. Select database is a command. So if you recall, the command was select database, and this tells to which database you are connected to. Now I have basically segregated these three. I mean, just I want to give you an idea. So now in this, what we are saying, how do we create a table, right? That means we are dealing with structure or creating a structure of data rather than inserting the data, right? So we are talking about the structure or definition. So this falls under the DDL category, data definition language, right? Because we are dealing with definition. So for example, if we are creating a structure of table, or we are dropping the structure of table, or we are updating the structure of table, that means we are dealing with structure of table, either creation, so I'll write. So table creation, table dropping, or you table updating, right? Table updating, that means uh, updating the structure of table, I mean updating table structure update, right? So all of these deal with the structure rather than data itself. So these fall under the DDL category, which stands for data definition language, right? It stands for data definition language. So here, I mean, when we created a table, it is again a DDL command. When we dropped a table, it is also a DDL command. When we are updating structure, we have not seen till now. Later we will see that how to update the structure using alter command. That means we can change the table structure. Let's say we want to change the data type, or we want to change the number of columns. We want to rename a column. All of that can happen through a alter command, and that will also be a part of DDL statement, right? Now, how to insert records to table? So we know that when dealing with data, like either I would say inserting data, or deleting data, or let's say updating data. That means, let's say today you have a mobile number, tomorrow you are changing that in the database, then it's like updating the data, right? Using update commands, which we have not seen, we will see it later. So all of these fall under DML category, data manipulation language, right? Data manipulation language. I'll write it here. Data data manipulation language, right? So you understood DDL, DML. So in DDL, you are dealing with structure of data. In DML, you are dealing with manipulation of data, right? Data itself. Okay. Now talking about how to view the records in a table. This is more like select statement where we are not either changing the structure or dealing with the structure, nor we are changing the data itself. Rather, we are just seeing it. So this falls under the DQL category, data query language. Data query language, right? So whatever select statements you are doing falls under DQL, right? So this way, I mean, just to let you know, so we have DDL, we have DML, we have DQL, which I have talked about these three. Other two, which I will talk about later, are DCL and TCL, right? Totally, there are five. Again, I will write here data definition language, data manipulation language, and DQL is data query language, and DCL actually stands for data control language, and TCL stands for transaction control language. Control language. Right now, I'm not talking about these two. I will talk about it little later. But you understood about DDL, DML, and DQL. Again, let me quickly uh, brief it. DDL is when you deal with definition of the table, whether you are creating new definition, whether you are changing that definition, or whether you are removing that definition, right? DML means with you're dealing with actual data, manipulating the data somehow, whether it's an insert statement, whether you are updating the data, right, like your phone number or email address, or whether you are deleting the data. We have not seen about updating or deleting the data. We will see it later, right? And DQL is where you write a query in order to retrieve the data. That is DQL, simple thing. So I hope this should make sense to you. Okay, so let us proceed. Now, let me talk little more about the insert statements. Insert statements. So, anyways, DCL and TCL I will talk little later. You will understand that. So, insert statements we have already talked about, but I want to go little deep into it, and I want to portray some scenarios here. So, what I will do is I'll go to my database, and I am connected to retail DB, but this table there won't be any table inside this. When I say show tables, there won't be any table. Okay, that's perfect because I dropped it and created it. Now, what I want to do is let me, I have my reference notes because I do not want to type this table definition again and again. I want to create this orders table. I have order ID, order date. Remember, this order date is date time, right? Order customer ID, that means the customer ID who has placed this order. So you see the naming convention that this table name is appended in all these column names. Why? Because if you are seeing the data or the columns, you know which table it belongs to. This is also one naming style. I mean, someone could have kept it just ID, date, right? I mean, order date, customer ID, right? And status like this. But I mean, good style could be this one, but it depends on what you like and what are the standards followed in your company, right? So you see this table name is appended before. So let me create this table. Nothing really, no big deal about it, by the way. I mean, we have created this table. Now I want to show insert statements and show various scenarios where it will work, where it might fail, and so on. So we have created this table now, and now let's see this first insert statement. So you see order ID, which is integer, order date, which is date time, right? Order customer ID, which is integer, but I am giving a string. Inside this, I am enclosing a integer only, right? This is interesting. And order status is closed, which is fine. So now only doubt is this third column, which is customer ID. Ideally, it should accept a integer, but I am giving a string. But I mean, we can get a integer out of it actually. we have wrapped a integer inside a string. So let's see if I perform this, what will happen. Let's see what will happen. And you see insert into this worked fine without any issues. But let me try selecting and seeing what happens. Select star from orders. What do you expect? What will happen now? What will happen? So if you see order ID, order date, order customer ID, and order status. So it was smart enough to convert this to a integer. Right? Because see, we have wrapped a string inside a integer, it has worked well. Right? So it internally did a typecasting in order to accommodate this. Right? Ideally, if you give like this, it would consider that a string. But since we have wrapped the integer, it would typecast it to an integer and that would have worked internally. Now, let's say by mistake, I'm picking the third insert statement now. Let's say by mistake, instead of this numeric value, let's say some data got messed up and we are trying to insert let's say some name here, or let's say it is something like customer ID 11159 hyphen a 12, like this is the customer ID I am trying now, and I am giving this order ID as 2. All of this is fine. Now if I run this, what will happen? Of course it will give me an error, because you can see here, what does it say? Data truncated for column order customer ID at row 1. Right? So basically you can see that this can't be fit for an integer. This can't be fit for a integer. You cannot convert this to an integer now. How can you convert? Right? So there will be a data loss, and that's why it failed. You can see it has failed. Because can you convert this to an integer? No. But this string could have been converted to an integer, so it worked. But this won't work. Right? So it worked because internal typecasting would have happened, and this failed because you cannot convert this to integer no matter what, because there is this hyphen a, right? How will you convert? So we have seen the first command which worked and third command which failed. Now let's talk about this one, and I will ask you, you tell me whether this is going to work or not. Think logically. Think logically whether this is going to work or not. So I'm giving some order ID, let's say 3. I'm giving date, but I'm not giving the time. I'm not giving the time. And I am giving, let's say, customer ID, which is proper. That's fine. And I am giving order status as closed. Now, is this going to work? Is this going to work? This says that order ID 3, someone with 11599 customer ID placed a order on this date. The order ID is 3 and the status is closed. Right? So here the doubt comes here whether date time can accommodate a date or not. Is there a data loss in this case? No, there is no data loss. And I mean, these are compatible types. These are compatible types, so it should work. But let's see that in action. So I ran this, and you can see this has worked. This has worked. How do I prove that it has worked perfectly fine? I can say select star from orders, and this should show me the records. So you can see. But what it did internally, it added 000000 to it. Right? This third record, right? It added this to it automatically. So it internally converted date to a date time and added some time to it, like 000000 hours, minutes, and seconds. So this worked. Now let me take another example. Right? I hope you are feeling this is interesting, because you should be aware that how data types work, and I mean, which are compatible types and so on. If you have some idea, then you feel confident about using them. Now, let's say I say insert into orders values, and I give, let's say, some order ID 4, and I'm giving some date time, right? I'm giving order, I'm giving the customer ID, and instead of closed, let's say some number is going, some number is going, integer is going. What will happen in this case? What will happen in this case? Let me run this. So consider that is a data issue, and instead of some string, some number is going by mistake, right? Or let's say, let's think it this way, that internally we think that each order status has a associated code. Let's say the code associated with close is, let's say, 8, right? Now might be for completed orders the code associated is 2, for pending payment the code associated is 3, and let's say for closed orders the code associated is 8. Now if I am trying to run this, then my only doubt is whether a varchar will accommodate this or not, right? So let me select this and run this. So let me see whether it has worked or not. It has worked. It has worked. And let me see that, I mean, what exactly is the results. And you can see this 4, this, and this has worked. It would have internally converted this integer to a string. It would have typecasted it. Anything can be accommodated into a string actually, right? If you see it that way. So it is intelligent and it can convert compatible types that way, which it can do. For example, in an integer, if you are trying to put a string, right, like Sumit, can Sumit fit inside an integer? It can never be, right? So that's where it will fail. So I mean, you got to know what works and what does not. So this worked, and this also worked, right? Something happened. 1 minute. So we are good with this. Now let me do one thing. Let me drop this table orders, and I will recreate it with little change in the structure. So what I will do is, so anyways, first I will copy all of this and put in my notes. Put in my notes. Okay. And I'll clear all of this. So I will drop table, and what's the name? Orders. I'll drop this. Now I will recreate it with a slightly different structure. So you see everything is fine. Like this is integer, this is date time, this is integer. Only difference is this, instead of supporting 45 characters, now this will support only 5 characters. So that's the limit we have given. So let me create this. Let me create this. Okay. Now you tell me whether this will work or not. You tell me whether this will work or not. Insert into orders values 2, order ID that is 2, that's fine. Let me give a new one. Till 4 we have done, right? 5, and this is a date. We understand a date can be accommodated by a date time. It will add 000000 as time. And order customer ID, we are giving customer ID here, who has placed this order, right? And then order status, I am giving pending payment. Now only doubt is that I have given varchar 5. Now these are more characters. These are around 15 characters. You can count them, roughly 15. So I know that varchar 5 cannot accommodate this, and this might lead to a data loss. And data loss should not be accepted ideally. So ideally, if you think logically, this should fail, but let's see. Let's see. And you can see, I mean, the font is less, but if you try that, you can see it says data too long for column order status. Data too long for column order status. That means this cannot fit inside this varchar 5, and it could have lead to data loss. So that's why it's not allowing us. And databases have that quality that, I mean, kind of, we can have quality data inside because of all of these protocols and all of these rules and restrictions, right? So this has not worked, has not worked. Why? Because data too long for column. It says data too long for column. Column which one? Order status. This is what it says. And that makes sense too, right? So let me take this, put it in my notes. I hope you are enjoying the scenarios. Let me drop this table again because the role of orders table is done for now. Drop table orders. Okay, fine. Now what I will do is, let me create another table. Another table, which one I want to create? Let's say order items. I want to create and show some scenarios on order items. So let me go to my reference this thing and create order items. I am running this. And now let us see the table definition. Order ID, right? Order item ID. That means, let's say when you purchase on Amazon, you have an order, and inside that you can have many items. So this is the ID for that, right? So let's say this can be a numeric value, integer. Then order item, order ID. That means this item belongs to which order. So let's say your actual main order ID is 101, which will be, let's say, here. I'm just giving you an idea. And here you can have many items inside that. Let's say items inside this can be 1001, 1002, 1003, right? Multiple items. Because in a single order, you can purchase a MacBook, you can purchase a mic, you can purchase a tablet, and so on, right? So I hope you understood what I'm trying to convey. So inside this order, we have many order items, and we get to know what product we are buying in as part of this. Let's say, I mean, if I have to talk about data, I'll just write it in a easy way so that you can understand. Let's say 701, right, is the order item ID, and order ID is, let's say, 101, and product ID. Product ID is, let's say, instead of product ID, let me write the name of it, laptop, right, or MacBook. Okay, and apart from that quantity I purchase, let's say, one quantity. Subtotal, that means, let's say, this MacBook costed 1,30,000, right? And product price was also 1,30,000. So, and now as part of this particular order, so I first go here and say 101, because as part of this order I purchased another item also, and the ID of that is 9890, let's say, right? And as part of this I purchased, let's say, uh, uh, what do I say? AirPods, and I purchased two AirPods, let's say, and subtotal. That means the price for the item, first of all, product price was, let's say, 18,000 rupees, and total it became 36,000, right? So if you see this way, you will understand that what I am trying to say. So these two items are a part of single order, which is 101, right? So we are looking at this kind of data. I can comment this. I can comment this so that this can be a good reference later in case if you forget. Right? So this is fine. I have created this. Now let me try inserting some data. Now insert into order item values this. So now let me see that order item ID integer, this is fine. Order ID, which is an integer, this is fine. Product ID integer, this is all good. Quantity integer, that's fine. Subtotal float, okay, and product price float. This looks all perfect. I do not see any issues. Let's see. Let's run this. And before this, let me just bring this and clear this so that we understand whether this command pass or fail. And this worked, and I can say select star from order items. Select star from order items, and I can see the data, which is perfect. That's what I was expecting. So there was no doubt about it. Now let's say let's say this. Now what we are doing is I have four decimal places here, right? Let's say I want to go to a bigger precision and I have used a float data type. Now, you might think that, oh, it is float, so it should work fine, no issues. Let's see. Let's see. And it has worked because you might be thinking it worked. But when we see the results, you can see that some level of truncation has happened. Some level of truncation has happened, or rather than truncation, I should say rounding up. Because if data is truncated in any way, it warns us or gives error. But in this case, how this float data type work is, it will have three decimal places, you can see, and it will round. If we are giving more decimal, it will round it to three decimal places. So you see 9878, it has rounded to 0.988. 299.985, it has rounded to 0.986, right? So if the number is 5 or greater, it will round it to next digit, right? If it is less than 5, then it's again taken care at a lower level, right? So for example, if it would have been 0.985, let's say if it is 0.9851, then it would have been 0.985 only. But since it was 0.56, then it is rounding it to 6, right? You can check this. So, what if your requirement is that no, you say, Sumit sir, I want to store more decimal places because my requirement is like that. I have to go to a higher level of precision of storing a decimal. Then what to do? Because float is accepting only three decimal places. Then what to do? In that case, there is a data type called as decimal. There is a data type called as decimal. And you can tell that, okay, it should have 20 total digits, out of which 5 are decimal, or 5 can be decimal. So that means the precision can be 5. Here you are saying it can have 20 total digits, and the precision is 8. That means after the decimal point there can be 8 digits, right? And before decimal there can be 12. Like that it is. So let me drop this items table. So let me first take this and put it here. Okay. Now what I will do is I will drop this order items table. Drop table order items. Right? I have dropped the table now. Now what I will do, I will recreate this table, and instead of float, I will give decimal, and let's see what happens. I will give decimal. Everything apart from that is same. And I run this. Now table would be created. And now let me insert this particular value. Earlier one will work fine, but let me first insert this only. Okay, because you might see some differences here too. And let me run this, and I say select star from order items. Select star from order items. Now what do you expect? You can see for this item subtotal, how many decimal places we have set? 5. So it is giving me 5 decimal places, 9, 8, and after that it's saying 0, 0, 0. But 5 decimal places it is giving. And for the second column, second this product price, right? It is, we have given 8 decimal places, so it has said 299.98 and it has given me 6 zeros, right? So you understand that it will go with that level of precision whatever we have defined here. Now if I give this now, if I give this here, in this I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 decimal places, but I have mentioned that maximum it can be 5. And here I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, so it falls within 8, that's fine. So for this particular column I have to see what will happen. What do you expect now? Now in this case it should truncate this data, right? It should truncate this data. Let me just show you. And you see it gives us a warning. That means it's, the operation has been done, but it has given a warning to us. You see this symbol. I mean, I guess my, this particular part is too I mean low in font that you might not be able to see, but you see this symbol which is for a warning, and it says one warning: data truncated for column order item subtotal. Data truncated for order item subtotal. So this one is the column where data is truncated, because in the structure we have mentioned at the max 5 decimal places, but we have given 7. And now if I say select star, if I say select star, you can see this. It says 98789, right? 98789. I hope this makes sense. 98789, that's what we are getting. So if you see this part, what it says, 0.98790. So what it has done, it has basically truncated it. And if you have to see logically, it's not truncation that way, rather I would say it is again rounding it up, right? But it is leading to some data loss. That's why it has mentioned truncation, right? And in this case, of course, it gave us one more zero. So I hope this is clear to you that how this works. So if you need some level of precision for your decimal, then use a decimal instead of float. That's what I wanted to convey. Okay. So this should be fine, I guess, right? Now let me drop this order items table. We do not require it now. Let me drop this order items. Anyways, I will first put this here in our notepad, because I will be providing you the same notepad, and I will say drop table order items. Drop table order items. Okay, we have dropped this. So now you kind of understood when to use float, when to use a decimal. Now let's go with some other example. So let us create the orders table quickly once again with this particular format. We have earlier also used. So let me quickly recreate. I want to show one or two more examples on this. I have created this. Okay. Now you see this will anyways work. Order ID int, order date, date time, right? And I int and varchar. So this is anyways going to work. I will quickly run this. No big deal, right? So this would have worked. Now what I want to show, so anyways I will clear this all so that we do not get confused. Now what I want to show is, let's think about this particular row, this particular row. So I already mentioned that when we have YYY it will work. So this is going to work. Let me quickly put this, let me quickly put this, right? This has worked. And let me see, there would be two records at the moment. Select star from orders. So we have already seen these things. Now two different scenarios I want to portray, right? So now let's say if I'm giving the date like 12th July 2025, in a date column, I am giving like this free flowing text like this. Do you feel it will work? I mean, if I give it like this, then how will system recognize what date? Because this is then everyone will give the date their way, right? How system will recognize? System recognizes it when it is in YYYY, MM, and DD format, but not this one. So let me show this, and this should not work. This should not work. So you can see this incorrect date value, right? Very simple thing to understand. And now if I give this, I am not wrapping this date inside single quotes. Will it work? Will it work now? Just think of it. It will not. It will not, because again, I mean, it will not recognize it as a date that way, right? It will not recognize it, and this is not going to work. You have to wrap a date inside a single quote, no matter what. You have to wrap a date inside a single quote. So with this, you kind of got an idea about how data types work and so on. Now let me ask you, for example, this, if I give a double quote instead, will that work? Will that work? Let's say I'm giving 5 here. Is it something that will work? It will. Single quote, double quotes, both work, right? Single quote, double quote, both work. But you cannot do one thing that, okay, you write a double quote here and a single quote here. No, that's not the way. If you are starting with a double quote, you end it with a double quote. But ideally, single quote is what generally people use. If you see more of production databases, I see single quotes is what is being used, right? Now, let me ask you one more thing, or one more scenario. Let's say, let's say for some reason, let's say there is a special character. Let's say there is a single quote like this in the data itself. Can happen. Let's say there is a name of a person, right, where there is a single quote there. For some reason it's there, right? You can think of use cases where a single quote is there in, let's say, address or somewhere. Then how do you tackle this? How do you tackle this part, right? You might think, oh, then of course this string got closed here, then this will show error. Of course it's showing error, syntax error. Then in such cases, no, if you wrap it inside, let's say, double quote, then you will be able to do it or achieve it. You can see this, because when you started with double quote, it will end with a double quote, and inside that single quote is something which is a part of data now. So okay, sorry, I didn't close this one, right? This also have to close, right? And you can see this has worked. This has worked. So kind of this is how you can play with single quote and double quote. If your data itself has a single quote or double quote, let's say if there was a double quote here, then you could have wrapped it inside a single quote, right? And let's say I give 6 here, this should work. And see why I'm telling this, because you should be familiar with these things. For example, let's say some address or some other description is there. Let's say product description is one of the column, and it contain such kind of characters, then it can heavily impact your data, right? So it's better you know these things. These are hacks around it basically. Now, if let's say single quote is there, let's say you could put a backslash also in order to, I mean, avoid this. So it becomes a part of your data now. Let's say I say 7. So backslash is like a escape character. So it's saying next character is data. Think it that way. So let me run this now. Okay. And I will say select star from orders. And let me see 7. It's there. You can see. I hope these are important hacks, right? Which you should know. Because, see, normally everyone can do basic things in a SQL. It's only when things get trickier, It's only when the data is little messed up, how will you deal with it? Right? Messed up in the sense data have these kind of characters, right? So this is fine. I'll take all of this and put it to my notepad. I hope you are enjoying these scenarios, right? So let me remove all of this. Now I have created some tables. What tables I have created? Show tables. If I say, I will be able to see. Okay. Let me see that quickly. Orders table only is the one right now. What if I want to, let's say I want to insert some data into this, but without knowing the structure, it's unfair to insert the data, or it's not right to insert the data. How do I know the structure of this table? Right? So I can programmatically see it. I can say describe orders, describe table name. And I see, okay, this orders table has four columns: order ID, order date, order customer ID, order status, and these are the data types. Null and all I will talk about later, but it says nullable, yes. That means kind of even if the data is missing, it's fine in any of these columns. It's acceptable. It's acceptable if one of the column has no value inside that, right? But I will talk about null. Null is a very important thing that you should know, but that's a separate thing. So I see there are four columns, the column names and the data types. So when I said describe orders, and even I could have said DESC, right? When we can type less, why to type more, right? So it would give me the same results. So any table that you have and you want to see the structure, you can describe that table. Basic things most of you would be aware, but in case if any of you are not, then these are the things, right? So we have described that. Now let's say there was another table called as information schema, which is not created by us. Let me connect to that information schema, right? I connected to information schema. Now if I say that select star from orders, will it work? Select star from orders, will it work? No, it will not, because there is no table called as orders, right? You see, I'll clear this and I run this again. And what does it say? Unknown table orders in information schema. So inside this particular database named information schema, there is no table called as orders. So you might think that, okay, first we have to connect to retail DB database, then we can say select star from orders. But there is other way also. Whether you have connected to the database or not, if you use the full notation like database name dot table name, then you will be able to do it, right? Select star from database name dot table name, right? If I run this, I will be able to see the results. I hope this makes sense. You can see this, right? Okay, so I talked about how to check the table, describe the table structure. What was the command? Describe table name. I'm writing it in angular brackets so that you can put your table name, or you can say DESC table name, which we have seen already, right? And then now we saw that wherever you are, whether you are connected to database or not, if you mention database name dot table name notation, you will be able to access the table, right? That's what I have shown you. Now let us talk about one more scenario. Let's say I have this customers table. I'll just take this. I have this customers table, okay? And you can see we have customer ID, first name, last name, email, phone number, street, city, state, zip code. All of this I have, right? And let me run this. Let me run this. Okay, I'm trying to right now create it inside information schema. That's why it says access denied, because in this database I won't be able to create. So I mean I can say create table retail underscore db dot customers. Right? That means we are saying inside retail DB we want to create this. Now, I mean, for my convenience, I will connect to retail DB only. Use retail DB because every time otherwise I have to give this kind of notation and prefix it with the database name. So I will connect to it, and I have already created this table. Okay, I have created this table. Now let's see. If I say insert into customer values, right? Customer ID, first name, last name, and email ID, and some random phone number I have given, right? Uh, After that, I have given some street and city, state. This looks all fine. This should work. Let me run this. This should work fine, I believe. Uh, this worked. And if I say select star from customers, select star from customers, let's see what does it say. And it gives me this particular record which we just inserted. So you can see this. So we got this particular record. Okay, that's nice and nothing big about it. But now let's see this particular thing. To Mary Barrett, and we are giving again a email, phone, uh, and what basically the scenario is that in this case, let's say there is a form on the website and they ask to fill that form, and the results of that are collected and put to a database. Now there was one of the field in that form which was optional, and the name of that field is customer street, right? So that was optional. That means people might fill that or not, right? That's the optional field. And let's say this person, the first one, Richard, filled all the fields, and we have inserted it into a database. Now let's say another person, Mary, Mary didn't opted to fill the street because it was optional. So there are less number of values that we want to insert. So if you see, there is no street here, right? After phone number, after the phone number, directly we are seeing in this insert statement city, state, and zip code. Street is missing. Now, will this work? Will this work? Because there is one value less. Our table name has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 values, but our insert statement has 8. The first one that we did was having 9, that worked, but now this one has 8. Will this work? Let me show you. It won't. And it is very simple. It says column count doesn't match value count. That means the columns that we have in the table and the values that we are passing do not match. Even if the values we pass are more or less, and if there is a mismatch, it will not work. So, how to tackle this problem? Because there was an optional field, then how will I insert it into my database now? So we can mention the column names explicitly, and that's how we have to do here. So you can see this. Insert into customers, and we give a list of columns that we want to pass or give values to. So we mentioned all the column names apart from the customer street. We have not given the customer street here, and then everything remains the same. So we have given a list of 8 columns and we have passed 8 values. So let me just run this. Let me just run this one. Okay. And this should definitely work. This should definitely work. Now you might be thinking, for this Mary, right? For this customer Mary, what should be the street? What it will show street? It should show null because there is no value that is passed. Null tells absence of a value, right? So if you see street, it shows null. It shows very small case, but yeah, this is null. That means there is no value to it, right? It's unknown. I hope this makes sense. I'll just take all of this and put it to my notepad, right? So this should make sense. I think this I have created two times. Okay. So you understood this. Now, kind of you would have got an idea about when insert works, when insert fails. So it can be because of column names, number of columns are not matching the number of values, or it can be because of data type mismatch, right? All of that. So, by the way, one more thing that I want to tell is while inserting, right, we can even, I mean, jumble up the columns. For example, first name we can put first. For example, if I would have written it this way, this would have also give work the same way. Like before customer ID, if I would have put the customer name, first name, let's say, for some reason, let's say I'm doing this, then I pass Mary right first. So the order is not mandatory, but the order of column names and data that you are passing should match. It should not be that it does not match, right? So these columns and this data should be one to one mapping, right? Whatever is first here should be first here also. So, but you can jumble these up, right? Okay. I hope this would have given you some clarity around this. I'll put it to my notepad. Okay. Anyways, so now while selecting, always we are doing select star from customers, right? We are saying select star from customers. Let me just do that again. And it shows me two records. I could have given some column names here. That means I want limited columns, customer ID. Let me first close this one and minimize this little bit. Huh. So I can say customer ID, comma, I want only first name. I do not want the last name, customer first name. And I just want to see customer state. That's it, right? Let's say I just want this. I can run this. Customer ID, customer first name, customer city, customer state from customers. Let me just check. So you can see that after running this we are able to get this, right? So by mistake I ran actually this insert two times. That's why basically insert particular insert is ran three times. That's why it's showing three times, right? If you do select star also, rows will be four. Number of rows are not affected with the column names you state. The column names say that, oh, in my table I have 100 columns, but I'm interested in this 15 columns. Please give me these. So you specify those list of columns, right? So it does not provide a limit on the rows. It provides limit on what columns you need. And you can even say ask for first name first and then city later. So you can shuffle up the columns and it will provide you in that manner. So let's say I take this customer first name, I mean, and I put this way, and you can see this. Now, even if I want, let's say, customer first name, I just want to specify or change this, rename it to first name, right? Then I can just say as and first name. So you can see the column name is changed. Very basic things, but always good to know, right? It's good to know these things. So let me just take this and put it here. So what we have seen now is uh, selecting selecting a few columns instead of all, and also renaming columns. Both of it we have seen now, right? Okay. Now what I want to tell is uh, let's say let's say you are a startup company. You are a startup company, right? You are a startup company, and you were managing things in Excel. You were managing things in Excel, which was working very well for you, but now you realized your startup is growing and you cannot do things with the Excel. You need a database, right? And let's say you have some customers, right? Let's say your customers have grown up to 2 lakh customers, and earlier it was easy to manage in Excel, but now you want to shift it to a database. How will you do that, right? So what in this case can be done is, you can create a customers table and upload a Excel. From Excel we will get a CSV file, basically comma separated, right? That can be easily imported to that table. Let me show you that. So first I will see what tables I have. Show tables. If customers table is there, I want to drop it. Customers is there, so I will drop table customers, and I would wish to recreate from scratch because I might have done something in terms of showing you some examples. So let me take this customers table, right? Okay, I'm taking this customers table and creating it. Now this will have no data at all, zero data. Now what I want to do, I want this side panel. So I will click here. I'll click here, and here you see sys db, right? Let me refresh this. I should see retail db also, which I have created. And here in tables I see customers, so I can see column names here. That's fine. Now I want to, I have this file inside my retail datasets. I have customers.csv, and I have all these columns here. It has around 10,000 records roughly. I want to load this particular data because earlier company was managing things in Excel. Then they want to shift to a database. How it is? It will be done now. So I can right click on customers, and I can say, where is that? Table data import wizard. I will browse the path, and I will say customers.csv. I'll open it. Next, it says use existing table. Yes, I do not want to create new one. And if you already have a table and there is some data and you want to truncate the data, you can select this option. Truncate means remove all the data before importing the data. Truncate, anyways, I have not covered, I will cover later. But truncate table before import means you clean up the table. That means table will have no data when doing the import initially. And I'll say next. And you see this mapping. So customer id, customer first name, last name, email, phone, and I'll make this customer address. So you see that, you remember the customer email and phone is something which is some dummy data. I do not want that was like xxxx like that. So I am not pulling this. That's fine. Other than that, let me pull all the other fields. Let me put all the other fields. So next, and it is now importing the data in our table. So that's like a bulk import, right? And soon it should be able to complete that. If I can see the logs, you can see data import. It's doing line by line, and it has finished. It has finished, right? So done, finish. And now if I say, so I'll just say select star from this, then I will be able to see some data, whatever you can see, right? By default, it shows 1000 rows. If you want to change that limit, you can select from here. By default, it is limit to 1000 rows. I have selected limit to 50,000 rows. I hope this makes sense, right? Now, if I want to see how many records are there, I can do count star. Count star. I guess it's around 10,400 something, but let me check that. So 12,435. 12,435 customers are there in this. We uploaded, did a bulk import in order to do that, right? I hope this would make sense. So you saw the entire process on how you create a table and upload a file into it so that we can see it as data, right? Now, let's say, let's say right now I am someone who is given a task to work on a table, right? And now I want to see what kind of data is there. Then I might say select star from customers, but sometimes your table might have millions or billions of records, right? And it will pull everything actually. If I do this, it will try to pull everything, right? But you want to just get a feel of your data by having a look. You just want to get a feel of it, right? Then how will you get a feel of data? You can just say limit to number of rows you want. Let's say limit 5. You just want to see 5 records. Why to bring all the records unnecessarily a performance issue, right? Because you are not going to analyze, you just want to peek in your data, see the data, what kind of data it is. So you run this, you get 5 records. So this is that limit keyword, right? You can mention the number of rows you want to limit it to. I hope this makes sense. So I'll just write it here. This is what I have talked. So quite a lot we have covered in this session, right? Now, let's say if we have to sort the data, how we can do? Because right now, if I'm saying select star from customers, I mean it's giving the data. And I want to sort it based on customer first name. Then I can say select star from customers, order by, because let's say you want to see all the customers uh, starting from a dictionary order. Let's say you have that use case. I do not know whether you will have such a use case or not, but let's say that you want to see all the names starting from A onwards, just like dictionary. Then you can say order by customer first name, right? And you can see it starts with A, and then it will be uh, later it will be B and then C, like that. So it is like a dictionary order now, right? If you sort, uh, if you order your strings, it will be dictionary order, and by default it's a ascending sort, right? If you want to do it in a reverse order, descending one, you can say customers order by customer first name DESC. That stands for descending order. So you can see Z is first, Z or Z, whatever you say, and then W and all of that. So it's the reverse order basically, right? That's about sorting. And sorting integers is super easy, right? You can sort integers. I'll show that also. So this is about sorting. Now, what we want to do is, let me create one last table for this session. One last table for this session. Let's say this table is a employee table, and I have employee ID, employee name, email, phone, city, salary, right? This looks fine. Uh, Even salary has decimal 10 to, that's fine. Ideally for salary, a floating point is not required, but that's fine. We can do that. I'm creating a table called as employees. And inside this, I took this insert statements from Chat GPT, right? I just wrote a prompt that I need this insert statements. So I want to insert these records. I want to insert 100 records into this particular table employees. So you can see, for example, order employee ID 1, name is this, email ID is this, phone number is this, and city is this one, and salary is this. So let me just run this. Let me just run this. Okay. Let me select and execute. I guess it's done. Okay, it's done. Now I will say select. I'll increase the font now. select star from employees, right? Select star from employees. So you can see 100 records are there, whatever I have inserted, right? 100 records, whatever I have inserted are here. Now, in this, you might have a thought process that okay, I want to see your problem statement is I want to see the employees who are top five employees who are getting paid the maximum, right? Top five employees with maximum pay, right? So, what query you can write? You can say select star from employees, right? Order by order by salary, order by salary, right? Now, salary by default it will be in ascending order. You might have to say DESC because you want in reverse order so that maximum salary comes up, and you want to limit it to five records. So, don't you feel this is equivalent to saying I want people, five people with maximum salary, right? That's what it is. Let me run this, and we are getting the details. The maximum salary is, let's say, 99,000 USD. Let's say this is the annual package, USD package, and this is again Tina has 99,000 USD, Uma has 98,000, 98,000, 97,000. We can say limit 10 to get 10 people with the highest salary, right? So that's where limit helps us, because if you see, ideally, limit might be used just to get a feel of your data by seeing 5, 10 records. But logically, you cannot do anything with those records, right? You cannot do any analysis on that, right? So, as part of analysis, if you want to limit, then of course it has to be along with order by. And order by default is ascending order. To make it descending, you have to say DESC, right? So ranking kind of queries are very much solved with this kind of approach, right? Order by limit. I hope this makes sense. Now we have covered a lot in this session. Now, what if I want to, let's say, delete all this data? In this employees table, if I want to delete all this data, all data, I'm not saying drop a table. Drop table means the structure is also removed. But I'm saying, no, no, structure should be there, but let's delete the data. So if I have to remove the structure along with data, everything, then drop table, table name. But I want to delete only the data, so I will say delete table, or delete from and table name, employees. And since I am saying delete from employees, it will delete all the data from this table. Let me first clear this one, right? And bring it down. And now if I run this, it should ideally delete all the records. There were 100 records, right? It should drop all the 100 records. And if I would give condition like something like delete from employees, where I have not covered where clause and all, but where employee ID, what was it, employee ID or what? Employee ID equal to, let's say, 1, right? Then it will delete only that record where employee ID equal to 1, right? Since I have not talked about where, I'm not going to talk about it right now. We will cover it later. But where is as part of a filter criteria where you say, okay, I just want to delete selected set of records. But if you do not give this condition, then it's like an open condition saying delete all records from this table. And if I try running it, it gives me a error saying you are using safe update mode and you try to update a table without a where. That means due to safety constraints right now, it is not allowing me to delete all the records. And I can turn off this safe mode. How? I go to my SQL workbench, settings, I go to SQL editor, and here you can see save update, reject updates and deletes with no restriction. No restriction means that you are not giving a where clause or any filter criteria. You are updating or deleting the entire table. So by default, it is safeguarding us from doing it unintentionally. So I can just remove this and say okay. That means what I'm saying, even if I'm deleting all the records, or even if I'm updating all the records, please allow, do not give a error, right? But now if I try to run it again, it will still give me an error because I have to close this id and start it again. So let me do that. Let me close this. Let me close this, and I will start my SQL workbench again. Okay. And now if I run this now, delete from employees, right? It says no database selected because I have to connect to database first. So I will say uh, use retail underscore db. First I will connect to that database, right? And now I will say delete from employees. And you can see this has worked. And now if I say select star from employees, it won't show any record. Select star from employees will not show anything because it's deleted. Everything is gone, right? So we have covered quite a lot in this session, and I'll just take this command also and put it here. How to delete the records. So now what we have covered, let me just write what we have covered. What have we learned in this session? What have we learned in this session? We have learned more on insert. That means kind of when insert will fail because values are not matching or data types are not matching, or which are the compatible data types and so on, right? We have talked about describe command, how to see the structure of the table. We have talked about select with specific number of columns and all, right? We have talked about even the delete command. Delete, that okay, how do you delete the records in a table, all the records, right? And we have talked about order by for sorting in ascending or descending. By default it is ascending order. We have even talked about limit, just to see a particular number of records. So if we use it along with order by, then it gives meaningful results. For example, where we say top 5, top 3, like that. Otherwise it can help us to quickly get a feel of the data, right? So this is what we have covered at a high level, and I feel you would have enjoyed this session because the scenarios that I have covered, I mean, will really help you when you are working on SQL. Right? It's not just interviews, but when working in real life, you will understand the importance of these concepts. Right? So this forms the base. Right? So with this, let me end the session, and I hope you liked it. Thanks a lot.